Are you upset about the Gannon Stauch case getting overturned on appeal? Let me explain to you why it's not necessarily a bad thing from a legal perspective. If you don't know who I am, my name is Stephanie. I'm a criminal defense attorney, specifically a public defender. And this is a case that's really bothered a lot of people for a really long time, and rightfully so. So let me explain to you from a legal perspective why it's not necessarily a terrible thing, because it's sort of rooted in constitutionality. So we know now that the Court of Appeals in the state overturned it because it was a juror issue. Essentially, the juror had ties to the district attorney's office. And it has to do with an issue with preemptory challenges and challenges for cause and the judge's denial of those. And that juror ended up deliberating, okay? And that juror had ties to the district attorney's office. So why is it not necessarily a bad thing that the case is going to happen again? Okay. Everyone should want everyone else to have a fair and impartial trial, right? We're sort of guaranteed that in the Constitution. Not sort of, but we are. Okay. And we should want every person who goes on trial to have that fair and impartial jury. Okay, that's one of the fundamental principles of the criminal justice system. We want everyone to have a fair and impartial jury, because if you were accused of a crime, you would want the fair and impartial jury too, right? You would want someone who does not have ties to the district attorney's office deliberating on your case to make sure that you were found not guilty if you were in fact not guilty. Now, in this case, the evidence is overwhelming. Okay, the evidence is overwhelming, and she was obviously found guilty, and rightfully so. Okay, but what's important here is that making sure that it's done correctly, making sure that the trial goes perfectly. Most trials don't always go perfectly, but the majority of the imperfections do not cause an appeal or do not cause the case to be overturned. This is one of those outlier situations that will always cause a reversal. Juror issues are one of the main reasons why cases are reversed, because that right to a fair and impartial trial is tantamount in the criminal justice system. So while we can be upset that it got appealed, we should not be mad at the system for overturning it, because what's important is that everybody received that fair and impartial trial. She'll be found guilty again if she goes to trial, or they'll offer her a plea deal, which will essentially commit her to life in prison regardless. But making sure that someone has that fair and impartial trial and that fair and impartial jury is one of the most important cruxes of the criminal justice system, and we should want that for everyone, because now when it's done again and they get it right, we're not going to end up back in the same place again, and she'll be serving her life sentence, and we won't ever have to deal with this again. So that's my 2 cents. Let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll talk about it later on tonight. Bye!